Every studio or every fan hopes that their favorite game will get the Game of the Year award. Sadly, it doesn't happen all the time. There are so many great games that deserve the award. So in this video I have mentioned some of the deserving titles and some that actually got the award. Before we look at the first game, please click that subscribe button. Ghost of Tsushima. Alright folks, this one is a major letdown. Hear me out first, The Last of Us 2 got the award for Best 2020 Game. That's something I can't complain about, but I feel Tsushima was a much better game. However, let's just hope that when the sequel comes out, it'll get the Game of Year award. Ghost of Tsushima is a fantastic game, and I can't even begin to describe how many amazing features it has. We have already talked about this game many times, but as you can see, it always gets its mention because of what a masterpiece it actually is. It's one of those games that just grabs you from the moment you start playing. When you're done with the prologue and finally experience that magical moment of riding through the field of white flowers and the Ghost of Tsushima logo pops up, I mean, come on. Some of you must have had goosebumps. The colors, the way the wind guides you, it's all designed to pull you into this beautifully tragic world. The art direction nails that perfect balance between realism and something almost poetic. The open world feels so nice, and you can just let loose and spend hundreds of hours. The developers have added so much content besides the main storyline for players to explore and interact with. Literally, the open world is loaded with side content. You can find shrines, help the peasants, take on side quests, unlock new attacks by completing certain missions, destroy outposts, find weapons and items scattered throughout the map. Everything is jam-packed to give you one of the finest experiences. However, combat is where it really shines for me. It's fluid, responsive, and brutally satisfying. You can approach fights like a samurai, facing your enemies head-on with honor, or go full ghost mode, taking them down silently from the shadows. The standoffs are some of the most intense moments. There's this tension as you wait for the right moment to strike, and when you do, it feels so rewarding. The game makes you feel like an awesome samurai or a stealthy ninja. Besides the exploration and visuals, soundtracks is another key component that truly takes this game to the next level. It enhances every moment, whether you're riding through a field or facing down a group of Mongols. It really adds to the game's atmosphere and emotion. Overall, Ghost of Tsushima is a complete package. Dogs certainly isn't your usual Game of the Year pick. However, believe me, Sleeping Dogs is one of the best open world games I have ever played. It's certainly on the level of GTA and maybe somewhat better. This underrated open world game will literally hook you in with how awesome every mission is and how jam-packed the world is. Plus, you also learn a variety of martial arts moves, and the parkour movements are just mind-blowing. I'm a huge fan of parkour, and when you combine with martial arts, it's like, oh my god, how awesome. Anyways, just to give a brief description, in Sleeping Dogs, you act as an undercover police agent, and your main goal is to keep the Hong Kong city a better place. Basically, you'll be solving a variety of missions. Don't worry, the game is not just about crime solving. Learning martial arts, picking fights, messing with NPCs, illegal battles, gambling, car chases. There's so much content in this game that I can't even begin to describe. Just by talking about it, it makes me feel like I should play it again. Sleeping Dogs is one of those underrated gems that doesn't get talked about enough. If you're into open world games with a strong narrative, it's a must play. What really stands out is the hand-to-hand combat. It's fluid, brutal, and incredibly satisfying, especially when you start chaining combos and using the environment to your advantage. Also, the way you balance your undercover job and loyalty with the triads is amazing. It's like playing through a high-stakes crime drama with a deep personal storyline. Plus, the game does a great job of making you feel awesomely skillful, whether you're taking down thugs in a street fight, speeding through the city on a motorbike, or engaging in intense shootouts. It's got a bit of everything, and it all comes together so well. There is never a dull moment here. You will realize why I am praising it so much once you give it a try. It's sad to see that not many players know about this game, and the fact that we never got a sequel. If you love open world games with a solid story and lots of action, Sleeping Dogs is definitely worth your time.
Realizing I should have never dropped out of art school. I could have made it. I could have been a real somebody. Thank you for showing me the light, officer.
I want to give you a chance, Shen, but you have to work with me.
The Last of Us Part 2. I absolutely love this series. Last of Us is for real one of the greatest zombie series of all time. It's not just the game itself, the HBO show is also pretty good. When you think about it, most of us have only enjoyed the zombie apocalypse scenario in games like Days Gone, Dead Island, Dying Light, and State of Decay. Not gonna lie, all those games are pretty great, but for some reason Last of Us shows a lot of other features that are missing from generic zombie games. It's not just about shooting zombies, the game is about experience. You understand the storyline, feel relatable to the characters, share the journey, experience the bond, and the second part also offers more characters besides Joel and Ellie. Now I know the story of Last of Us Part 2 is really controversial, but can't we just enjoy what's good about it? The way the story worked for some, for others, it sadly didn't work quite as well. It just depends on how you are as a person. I guess very few stories have ever impacted me the way The Last of Us 2 has, in any medium, not just video games. And unlike a lot of people, I think this is a story that only works as a video game, and it only works as a sequel. The entire emotional core of the story hinges upon the special bond forged between player and player character, a bond which is not typically present in other media where the story is merely told to you, rather than experienced as an active participant. It's entirely dependent on us viewing the characters as me. And I can understand why the game didn't work for some people, and that's fine, it doesn't upset me, but for me, I'll be surprised if I ever play another game that connects with me as deeply as this one has. Oh well, anyways, this time you see how things turned out and experience the finale of Joel's journey. We see our little Ellie all grown up, and then there's Abby, who's got her own story. The game is surely better than the original, but the bond and journey you experience in the first part is unforgettable. The sequel has better gameplay, enhanced graphics or visuals, and more characters. It's a roller coaster of emotions wrapped in a brutal and beautiful package. If you've played the first game, you're going to feel right at home with the gameplay. But the story is something else. It takes you to some dark places and shows a lot more than just survival. The game is like a masterclass in storytelling, but it's not afraid to punch you in the gut like multiple times. The characters feel so real, and you get so attached to them, but then the game just flips everything on its head. You end up questioning everything you thought you knew about them. Now, we are not going to go too deep into the visuals and gameplay, because we all know that it's so much better than the first part in those aspects. The gameplay is refined, and combat is both intense and satisfying. Plus, the new crafting and stealth mechanics really let you play the way you want. But let's be real, this game isn't for the faint of heart. It's heavy, and it doesn't shy away from making you feel uncomfortable. The violence is raw, and the story isn't afraid to explore the darker side of humanity. You'll probably want to talk about it with someone just to process everything.
Just don't, please, don't. Please don't.
Elden Ring. I had zero doubts that this game will surely get the award. Elden Ring was such a deal breaker and gave Souls game more recognition. Honestly, I have played every Souls game and I do love Elden Ring, but I know that there are a lot of fans out there who prefer the old linear style gameplay like Dark Souls or Sekiro. Not gonna lie, the open world concept is pretty great, but there's just a different feeling that I can't express, something that can only be experienced in semi-open world. The DLC also gave us a lot of new content. That's why I wish that the next game would be like the usual Souls games. Imagine if we get Bloodborne 2. Anyways, Elden Ring is such a masterpiece. Even if you're not a Souls fan, you must have at least thought of playing this game. The difficulty is over the roof. The open world is filled with different regions or landscapes, there are tons of weapons and armor, and the map is filled with bosses, and don't even get me started on the DLC. It's just my opinion, but From Software nailed the DLC. It almost feels like a brand new game. Usually when you get a DLC in other games, there are just some new missions, weapons, or some new missions, weapons, or some new areas. However, in case of Elden Ring, everything is completely different. It's like the developers decided to release the DLC after 2 years. They knew that it's going to be huge. It's almost like From Software gave us another new Souls game. There are more difficult bosses, new areas to explore, new weapons and armor. In all honesty, Elden Ring is a great game. It absolutely is, but for some players it's way too difficult. That's simply because they never tried Souls games. As a veteran, I can say that the game is certainly hard, but that's another reason to love it. You don't have the right to call a game bad or criticize it just because you can't defeat a boss. The combat is intense and unforgiving, but that's what makes every victory feel earned. It's not just about mashing buttons, you have to think about every move, dodge, and strike. Boss fights are epic, with these monstrous creatures that feel like they've been pulled from the depths of some dark legend. Each one is a challenge that demands your full attention and strategy. Elden Ring isn't just a game, it's a journey. It's tough, sometimes frustrating, but incredibly rewarding.
Elden Ring is set here, in the lands between.
Hollow Knight. Perhaps one of the best and widely known Metroidvania games. Almost everyone has seen this game. Even if you're not a gamer, I'm sure you must have seen the gameplay footage in YouTube Shorts. Hollow Knight is a remarkable game and a great pick for Game of the Year. Sure, some players might say that it's genre specific and only people who are interested in Metroidvania or platform genres will love it. However, believe me, it's not true. Anyone can play this game and have a great time. And even, I wasn't a big fan of the genre before diving into this, but I still had an amazing time. The way the game challenges you, makes you explore and shocks you with difficult enemy encounters or treasure items, the art style is simple but so detailed, and the way the music sets the tone is just spot on. Everything adds up, resulting in a great experience. Hollow Knight is one of those games that just pulls you in with its atmosphere and keeps you hooked with its gameplay. It's got this hauntingly beautiful world that feels both vast and tightly packed at the same time. The gameplay itself is tight, challenging, and super rewarding. Every time you unlock a new ability or beat a boss, it feels like you've genuinely earned it. The combat is fluid, and there's a real sense of progression as you explore deeper into Hollow Nest. It lets you discover things on your own, which makes every secret or shortcut you find that much more satisfying. The sense of exploration is incredible. There's always something new to find or an extremely difficult boss to take down. It's definitely a game that tests your patience and skill, but in the best way possible. If you're someone who loves the genre, then by all means go ahead and play this game. On the other hand, if this is your first time entering the genre, then Hollow Knight is still a great entry game, along with Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Nevertheless, despite being such an amazing game, it's sort of sad to see that we still haven't gotten any confirmed updates or release dates about the sequel. Fans like me have been waiting for a long time for the release of Silksong, but things are looking up and we might get the sequel in fall 2024, or in early 2025, maybe the sequel will get the original game more recognition. Monster Hunter World. This one is one of my favorite games. Who doesn't love to explore a fantasy world filled with gigantic monsters where your only goal is to hunt down every last one of them? I admit that there are some issues, but if we talk about monster hunting, then surely this game is a decent choice. The thrill of the hunt is what really hooked me. Every encounter is a mix of strategy, skill, and timing. You're not just button mashing, you have to learn the monster's patterns, their weak points, and figure out the best way to bring them down. This is not one of those games where everything is going to be easy. You won't get any game-breaking weapons or tricks. Instead, you have to adapt and progress further, upgrade your gear, because the game is full of difficulty and grinding. However, if you're willing to spend hundreds of hours, then I'm sure you will find the game appealing, assuming you love the idea of exploring this fantasy world and discovering new monsters. One of the most satisfying feelings you're going to get is upgrading your gear. The sense of progression is so satisfying, starting off with basic gear and working your way up to crafting some of the most badass weapons and armor, all made from the monsters you've defeated. It's perhaps one of the most rewarding aspects of these games. After you reach a certain point, you're gonna look back and realize how far you've come, how many coolest weapons you got, and how many gigantic monsters you have killed. Honestly, the game is not for everyone, especially for the players who hope to get entertained right from the start. The beginning is sort of boring and repetitive as the game takes some time before it really starts to become interesting. Briefly, your main mission is to kill certain monsters across the different maps. Now, throughout your journey, you'll also encounter other type of monsters which are necessary to kill for leveling up or gaining experience. Your odds or victory depends on various factors such as how much you know about the monster, the habitat of the monsters, the attack patterns, better gear, and crafting items. Monster Hunter World is such a great game for die-hard fans of exploration and killing monsters. Also, this will be a great time to play the game as a new Monster Hunter game is releasing soon. Red Dead Redemption 2. How can I finish this list without mentioning the greatest Rockstar game ever? It'd be a crime not to talk about Red Dead 2. This game is the literal definition of every gaming feature, such as a great storyline, engaging or interactive open world, multiple side quests, best characters, visuals, and graphics. Every moment in Red Dead is precious and memorable. Only the first chapter is sort of slow-paced, but everything else is nothing short of amazing. You can easily lose yourself in the open world and spend hundreds of hours without even focusing on the main storyline. Also, the ending is probably one of the best as it's immensely satisfying and purely heartfelt. It felt like we had watched every moment of Arthur's life. It was also a notable feature that developers added that, depending on how you played your game or made certain choices, some cutscenes in the ending will change.
Easy.
Now, if we talk about one of the best known aspects of the game, the details, I want to say that Rockstar nailed the concept. You will be finding so many small little things which will make you realize how much work Rockstar has put into it. One moment you'll see an NPC cutting a tree, and after a few hours when you come back, you'll notice that now he's chopping wood. It's like everyone in the open world is moving forward just like in real life. Every NPC act like a real person. It's like they have got their own sub-story going on. There's so much more, like if you stare at a character for too long, they'll get annoyed. Dutch will say different dialogues depending on how much you donate. NPCs being wasted in the streets. Literally, Red Dead is the definition of details. Anyways, I can't complain, because 2018 was a great year as we got a lot of amazing games such as Spider-Man, God of War. So it was such a difficult decision to make about which game deserves the award. And let's just appreciate what Rockstar did. They created a game that will be played for decades.
This area is off limits, okay?
You don't like this?
Resident Evil 4 Remake. One of the best Resident Evil games. I do love survival, but when you add a lot of action to it along with some great characters, then I just can't keep my hands off from the controller. The fourth part is one of the best installments in the series as it has everything in it. Plus, this was the moment when the developers decided to shift things and added more action elements. It all worked out smoothly and fans loved the game. Now, the remake added 5 stars. The textures are awesome to look at, the characters are more refined, controls and weapons are easy to use, everything looks soothing and impressive. Even if you're someone who's not a fan of the series and feels that first person is not your jam, then don't worry, the 4th part is completely different and will surely be a decent entry choice to get into the series. It's not like the other parts where you feel miserable and are just running around from the enemies. This time you feel more powerful, and the more you progress, the stronger you become. In my opinion, either the 2nd remake or the 4th one, these are the only 2 games that deserve the award. Biohazard will also be a great choice. Both games showcase everything that the series has to offer. You've got your survival and puzzle solving, and then you also got a lot of action and storyline.
Leon, you know I don't work in town. Leave the girl. She's lost no matter what.
Resident Evil 4 Remake is an absolute blast, especially if you're a fan of the original. They've kept that iconic, tense atmosphere but cranked everything up with today's graphics and mechanics. The game hits you right from the start with a mix of nostalgia and fresh surprises. The village setting feels even creepier with the updated visuals and sound design. Every little creak or distant noise keeps you on edge. What's really cool is how they've balanced the game. It's still challenging, especially if you're playing on a higher difficulty, but it never feels unfair. The puzzles, the boss fights, the exploration, all of it has that perfect mix of tension and reward. The remake honors the original, but still keeps its essence as a great survival game. Plague Tale Requiem. Alright, let's kick things off with a Plague Tale Requiem, a game that honestly should have had its moment as Game of the Year. Seriously, if you've played it, you know this isn't just another stealth action game, it's a gut-wrenching, heart-pounding journey that grabs you by the emotions and doesn't let go. So, you're back with Amisha and Hugo, right? Their story just gets deeper, darker, and way more intense in this sequel. The game throws you into this brutal, plague-ridden world where survival isn't just about dodging enemies, it's about keeping your sanity intact while everything around you is falling apart. And man, the way it blends story and gameplay. It's like every choice you make, every step you take, pulls you deeper into their nightmare.
Handle it, and don't disappoint me.
But the boy,
He's the right age to learn.
you shouldn't have come.
You don't want to do this, believe me.
You talk too much.
Now, let's talk about those visuals. The game is straight up gorgeous, but in that haunting, almost disturbing kind of way. The way the light filters through a broken window, or how the rats, those damn rats, swarm in the dark, it's also meticulously crafted. Every scene feels alive, like the world is breathing its last, desperate breaths around you. The stealth mechanics, oh, they're intense, but not just for the sake of it. Every move feels weighty because, yeah, you're not just trying to save yourself, you're protecting Hugo, and that adds a whole other layer of tension. And the puzzles, they're not just about solving something for the sake of progress, they make you feel like you're fighting against the world itself, using every bit of the environment to survive.
Wait! We didn't mean to trespass. We fell here by accident. We'll leave if you show us how.
Lies.
I swear. I don't know what's happening here, but we have nothing to do with it.
Lies! You bloody thieves! I'll cut you to pieces!
What really sets A Plague Tale Requiem apart, though, is how it handles its narrative. This isn't just a story about a brother and sister, it's about the human condition, about what it means to cling to hope when there's barely any left. The voice acting is phenomenal. You can feel every bit of fear, determination, and love in their voices. And the music, it's like the game's soul-haunting, beautiful, and it just wraps you in the atmosphere. So why should this game have been Game of the Year? Because it's more than just a game. It's an experience that stays with you, makes you think, makes you feel. It's rare to find something that's this well crafted on every level, from the story, to the gameplay, to the visuals and sound. A Plague Tale Requiem isn't just another game to play, it's a journey you need to take.
Doesn't he ever get tired? I really should get back to studying.
Come on, we had a long journey today. Please, Mother.
Before I reveal my final pick, here is an honorable mention. Disco Elysium. This one is different. It's not your typical third-person AAA games. The art style is unique and amazing. It's like playing through a detective novel where every choice you make can drastically alter the course of the story. Disco Elysium is a game where you're just thrown into the mix, and you play as a character who is suffering from amnesia. Therefore, you have to piece everything together by talking to people, investigating clues, and basically trying to figure out who you are and what happened to you. It's such a great game and offers a different plot. I love the dialogues and how they are written, sharp, gritty, and downright bizarre, but that's what makes them so captivating.
He has been trying to meet up with you for 2 days, but you have been otherwise occupied.
If you don't mind, we should talk to him again. Ask him for a rundown of the area.
It Takes Two. This is an absolute gem of a game, especially if you're into co-op experiences. I remember diving into it with a friend, and honestly, it's one of the best co-op games I've ever played. The whole concept of the game revolves around two characters, Cody and May, who are going through a rough patch in their marriage. They end up being turned into dolls, and the entire game is about them navigating through this miniaturized world to try and fix their relationship. Besides a great chemistry and storyline, the game does offer some engaging gameplay. What really stands out is how it constantly throws new mechanics at you. Just when you think you've got the hang of something, the game switches it up, keeping things fresh and exciting throughout. The puzzles are creative and the level design is top-notch. Each level feels like a different adventure with unique challenges and themes, from battling it out with giant squirrels to navigating a magical snow globe.
They just ran away! I mean, did you see them on their little fuse legs?
Worry about that later. Let's just bring them back. Oh, perfect!
Let's go!
Also, the sounds and music enhance the gameplay. You feel more in sync with the gameplay, and the soundtrack makes you feel captivated. You'll never want to quit and put down the controller. It Takes Two combines a lot of stuff, whether it's just the game's features or how you need to work together to solve certain mechanics. There's no way around it, cooperation is key. It leads to some really fun moments, and the moments when you finally figure out how to solve a puzzle together. Nevertheless, besides the co-op feature, another best thing is the storyline. It balances humor with some genuinely touching moments, making you care about these little doll characters and their journey. By the end of it, I found myself really invested in seeing Cody and May work things out. Finally, it's creative, fun, and full of surprises. Plus, it's one of those games that's best enjoyed with a friend or partner, so grab someone and get ready for a wild and emotional ride.
Why'd you look like a blob of clay?
Wanna change back? Then you need to fix your relationship! You're here to fix your relationship!
We just fixed it.
Yeah. We're, divorcing. It's all good.
No!
Alright, this finishes part 2 of Game of the Year list. As you can see, I have added both deserving and the ones which actually got the award. Every game in this list is great and will surely give what you're looking for. If you want to experience heartfelt storylines, if you want to lose yourself in the open world, or if you just want to feel the thrill of the combat, all these games contain everything in the right amount to keep you engaged. Anyways, if you have made it this far, then please subscribe as we are close to reaching 19,000 subscribers and join my Discord for helpful gaming content.